Hyundai are fashionably late to the small SUV, and the stylish all-new Kona certainly makes a grand entrance. And on looks alone, it's clearly here to take on the current king of funky crossovers, Toyota's CHR. But which one should you buy? The Korean upstart's not shy and it's pitched to buyers young at heart. Its sporty design comes in a dizzying 22 combinations of body and roof colour, and on 18-inch wheels it looks fast just standing still. The designers have worked overtime adding stuff to the outside of the Kona. There's an acre of plastic cladding over the wheels, and there's enough lighting up front and in the rear to light up the MCG. Add the gaping grille, stylish curves and flowing lines, and well, more is more, but it kind of works. The Toyota CHR, on the other hand, offers 7 less combinations of body and roof finishes than the Hyundai, just 15 in total. But even in restrained blue paintwork, it makes a much bolder statement. The techie headlights, almost angry stormtrooper face, give the CHR a real concept car look. And up the back, that rear wing, sloping tailgate and floating taillights scream lifestyle crossover. It definitely doesn't look like your typical Toyota. The designers have gone to great lengths to hide the fact that it's a small SUV, but you get the feeling that that's the whole point. However, the Hyundai Kona is very SUV-like inside. Apart from this stylised steering wheel, it's all very Honey, I Shrunk the Tucson in here. You can option coloured highlights, but this grey on grey version is nothing flash, and it's actually a bit of a letdown. You get leather trim and lots of bells and whistles in this top Highlander spec, but the instruments, infotainment and general design could be really any other Hyundai. The CHR is also very monochromatic, but the lashings of shiny piano black, satin silver and funky patterned door trim and headlining show some extra effort. The Toyota's cabin really feels like the more special place to be than the Hyundai's. You get this clever asymmetrical wraparound design that couldn't be more different from a Camry or Corolla. Unfortunately, you don't get CarPlay and Android connectivity like you do in the Hyundai. The small infotainment system looks like an afterthought, and it lacks goodies fitted to its rivals such as heated and cooled seating. Though the quality and features of the Kona's infotainment system won't have rivals such as Volkswagen losing sleep, but you do get nifty inductive phone charging and a retractable head-up display. For sheer accommodation, the CHR is the roomiest, with extra breathing space in every direction in the second row. There aren't too many small SUVs on the market that have this level of proper adult room in the back seats, but there's a problem. Once you shut the door, this window line is so high, even adults can barely see out. Imagine what it's like for a 7-year-old on a long trip. But when it's dark and you're fighting claustrophobia, it would be really nice to be able to breathe. But there's no air vents. And to add to Junior's misery, the door handles are set so high there's almost no chance of reaching them unassisted. For young ones, the Kona's second row is much easier to get into and to see out of, and it has a much airier ambience. But still, the Hyundai is pretty cramped in the back in every direction. There's no air vents, there's no USB ports, there's no 12-volt power outlet to charge your kids' devices. But still, I think it functions better as an SUV than the Toyota does, especially if you're carting kids around town. Having said that, surprisingly these crossover SUVs are better suited at carting humans than they are luggage. The Kona's boot is pretty tiny as you'd expect. It is a small crossover SUV. You can fit a set of clubs in the back, but it's a pretty tight squeeze. But the Toyota gives you an extra 17 litres to play with, so loading it up is just that little bit easier. But realistically, not much really separates the two. It's once you hit the road where the real differences come out. Stick it in sport mode and the Kona will go like a scalded cat. While the front drive version of the Kona gets a 110 kilowatt 2-litre naturally aspirated engine with a conventional auto, the all-drive, like this top-spec Highlander, gets a turbocharged 1.6 producing 130 kilowatts and 265 newton meters. It also uses a dual clutch transmission, which is really responsive if you're having a punt, but not the smoothest unit for low-speed driving. But the Kona is really fun to drive. It steers great, and the locally tuned suspension really balances out the sort of sportiness and comfort that you'd expect from a crossover. It's quiet too. Bravo, Hyundai. Tell you what, this thing's going to take some serious beating. Toyota claims that the CHR is thriftier on fuel, returning just 6.3 litres per 100 compared with the Hyundai's 6.7 claim. But there's a reason for that. Toyota have just one engine for its entire CHR range, regardless if you opt for front-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, manual or CVT transmission like on this fully loaded Koba edition. But it's a 1.2 litre turbo engine with 85 kilowatts and 185 newton metres, which is quite a bit less than even the base model Kona's engine. It doesn't exactly struggle, but the CHR is a deceptively large car on the road. It doesn't march anywhere near as hard as its Korean rival. But if you do dig in and don't mind the noise this little engine makes when it's earning its keep, and you find some twisty corners, it's quite a fun little machine. Like the Hyundai, the Toyota has fully independent suspension, which helps give it a really playful nature in the bends, and it's got fun, darty steering. It's still nice and compliant over the bumps when you're tooling around town, but it's not as evenly tempered as the Kona, but there's just so much to like about its overtly sporty demeanour. So different strokes for approaching the small SUV then, but not much separates them in price. The Toyota CHR might be a little bit cheaper, but both of these top spec versions come in at around about the $36,000 mark. The Kona takes a more balanced and potentially more mature approach at what it is to be a small crossover SUV. It's got more power, it's got a little bit more equipment, and it's a more SUV-like thing to live with every day. Picking my personal winner between these two has been a massive challenge. But while the CHR is the current king of the funky crossover, I think the Kona gets the crown.